Welcome back. I've teamed up with Butterfinger to make these absolutely adorable baby Butterfinger Bundt cakes. We're going to start off by making the batter together. So I'm adding 2 sticks of salted butter that are at room temperature into a bowl, along with 1.5 cups of brown sugar. I'm mixing this on low at first just to get things combined, and then I'm going to cream them together on a high speed until the mixture becomes lighter in color. And this happens because we're incorporating air into it, which is going to give our little bundt cakes an amazing texture. Next, we're adding in 4 large eggs. I like to add them in 2 at a time, and they mix in a lot more easily if they're at room temperature. I mix these in on a high speed just because we haven't added our flour yet, so there's no risk of really overworking our batter at this point. I also recommend using a rubber spatula to scrape around the sides of your bowl just to make sure that your eggs are really getting properly incorporated into your butter-sugar mixture. After one more quick stir, it's time to add in our buttermilk. We're adding in 3/4 of a cup of room temperature buttermilk here, and this is going to give our bundt cakes a really tender crumb and also pack them with moisture. Once that buttermilk is fully mixed in, your batter might look a little bit broken or separated, but don't worry, it's going to come back together as soon as we add in our dry ingredients. We are now adding in 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm mixing this on my lowest setting, and I'm also mixing just until our flour is incorporated. If you find that there's flour stuck to the sides of your bowl, just use your rubber spatula and give it one more scrape, being sure to also get to the bottom of the bowl because sometimes your wet ingredients can pool down there. After one more stir to make sure all of our ingredients are incorporated, it is time to bake up our bundt cakes. After greasing my mini bundt pan, I put my batter into a piping bag to make it easier to fill up our pans. You can also use a spoon or a cookie scoop though to add in your batter. Next, I'm drizzling 1 teaspoon of warmed peanut butter on top of our batter. And I'm trying not to get too much peanut butter on the edges towards the pan because it can make them a little bit harder to release. Next, it's time for my very favorite part of this recipe, adding in our chopped up Butterfinger. The Butterfinger adds a ribbon of color, of flavor, and of texture into these bundt cakes, which taste so amazing. It really does stay true to its tagline of crispity, crunchy, peanut buttery. I've added 1.5 tablespoons of chopped up Butterfinger into each little bundt cake cavity, and now I'm topping it with a thin layer of batter. You want to make sure you don't overfill these and that they're only about 2/3 of the way full to ensure that they bake up properly. I'm going to bake these in a preheated 350-degree oven for about 20 to 23 minutes, and while they bake and cool, I'm going to work on my chocolate peanut butter glaze. I'm combining my remaining peanut butter, 3 tablespoons of milk, 1 cup of powdered sugar, and 2 tablespoons of cocoa into a bowl, and I'm going to whisk it together until it's nice and smooth and there's no more clumps. After letting my mini bundt cakes cool and releasing them from the pan, I'm going to drizzle my glaze on top of each bundt cake. The glaze should be relatively thick, and it might seem almost too thick as you drizzle it, but I promise that's exactly the consistency you're after. Once we've glazed all of our mini bundt cakes, the last step is to top it with our remaining chopped up Butterfinger. You want to make sure you do this right after you glaze your bundt cakes, or else the glaze will set and the Butterfinger will have a hard time sticking to it. Now it's time for my favorite part, the taste test, and here's a peek at the inside. The Butterfinger and peanut butter really does create such a beautiful ribbon through these bundt cakes, and they are so delicious. Baking with Butterfinger truly is such a treat. The full recipe for these baby Butterfinger bundt cakes is up on Chelsweets.com.